What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations.
Something's got to separate you from the rest. So you got to be willing to do whatever.
In my experience, Black men have struggles like having community with each other.
But she represents the mammy stereotype.
Now that was epic. I needed that. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also, since 2020, have co-hosted and co-produced the only online show in the world for dads, fathers, and male caregivers that is sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that movement, we've reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. Usually I do my housekeeping before our break, but we're going to do it now because we have a special friend with us today that we've known each other digitally for a number of years. And now we're going to see each other through a screen. And in a few days, we're going to see each other face to face. So it's called progression. So as always, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Also, like the Dr. Vibe show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Substack. And also, too, if you're up to it, please, if you're up to it, advertise your business, product, or service on any of the platforms that I'm a part of. Email me at dr.vibe at the drvibeshow.com. So right quick, we're going to take a very quick break and we're going to bring up a very special friend to you. We'll be right back.
Watch Primetime Saturdays on Saturdays 5 p.m. Eastern, where Aisha K. Staggers and Laura Lala Key try to make sense of the nonsense in American politics and culture.
All right, we are back. See, Dr. Vibe not wasting time today because I want to squeeze every muscle, and you'll know why I said that out of this gentleman before we get going. You know, respect is a word that we don't easily give out. But this gentleman and I have been following each other for a number of years, and last week, someone reached out to me and saying, "Hey, Black Enterprise is coming to Toronto." So, yeah, I know that. And he said, "Well, they want to get on your show." I said, "Really?" Okay, all right. And so one lesson there, the power of being consistent. Being consistent. So their digital representative reached out to me and I said, "Okay, we'd like to do something on Monday virtual." Great, gave my time. And then this young gentleman emailed me back and said, "All right, let's make it happen." So I said, "Okay." So like I usually do most of the time, I said, "Hey, do you have a few moments we can just chat, get oriented with each other?" Great. So we were chatting on Friday for a few minutes and I said, I started to share a little bit about myself. He says, "Oh no, I know who you are, Dr. Vibe." I go, OMG. So let's bring up to the stage a young gentleman, Alfred Edmond Jr., Senior VP and Executive Editor, Black Enterprise. We're going to be talking about health is currency and also about the event that's coming up this Tuesday in Toronto, the Elevate Everywhere Toronto, that's being held at the Manulife Financial Headquarters. But let's just bring him.
Hey,
What
man.
is up, Alfred A. Edmond Jr.?
Dr. Vibe, let me say right up front, I thank God that he brought us two together for such a time as this. Like you said, I've been following you on Instagram in particular. Again, I know about your show. I think our Black Men Excel, what is the Black Enterprise Men account now follows you as well.
Yes.
And so, again, like you said, progression, God's timing is always perfect timing. And so I am grateful that his timing has brought us together now and that in a few days we'll be able to touch and agree face to face. So it's such a great pleasure and an honor to be a guest on your show today.
Well, you're not a guest, you're a friend.
All right.
I like the people who come in here, you're friends. We're not guests. No, 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 no. And as I said on Friday, I don't do interviews. We do conversations.
Same here, same here. And
And
don't be careful. Remember, you said that I'm gonna show up at your house. When I go into your refrigerator and fix me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you just, you know,
whatever, no problem. We do it together and we win together for the greater cause, right?
amen, amen.
100%. Well, let's start a little bit about your background, personal and professional, and then we'll get into some health is currency and also get into the Thursday event. So, where you want to kick it off?
Well, let me kick it off in the most important place, which the longer I live, the more it's important to me to do that. And first of all, my life does not make sense if you take God out of the equation. I mean, we don't have time to go through all the ways my life would not make sense. That, you know, if so, I start out with, I'm someone who is definitely a child of God. Jesus loves me. I love Jesus because He loved me first. And again, the longer I live, the more clarity I get about my journey in that context, both through the great times and the not so great times. So that's the foundation of who I am.
Mhm.
I have a very long bio because I've been blessed to do a lot of amazing things, and I do a lot of public speaking, and they'll read my bio, and I always have to bring it back. Yeah, that's all true, but it starts there. It starts with the faith that my mother and my father and my grandparents and their parents and many, many generations poured into me so I could live the life that I live. That said, from a professional standpoint, and again, part of what doesn't make sense, though I did not study journalism in college, I am now blessed to have built a 45-year career as a journalist, as an editor, as a media professional, you name it. It started out in black newspapers in Brooklyn, New York. Eventually went to national magazines and got to Black Enterprise. So I've been an editor. I've done radio. I've done obviously podcasts, which we still do. I've done every form of media you can think of, television. And I'm in my almost 39th year, moving on to my 40th year at Black Enterprise.
Wow.
I'm currently the senior vice president and executive editor. I spent 13 years as the editor-in-chief of Black Enterprise magazine, when it was a print magazine. I was the first editor-in-chief of blackenterprise.com, the first chief content officer. And I've been blessed over my time at Black Enterprise it's very rare, and you know this, to be able to be in a company that allows you to grow. I came in
Mhm.
26-year-old, back in 1987. And while the company has been the same, I looked at my career, and maybe every 3 years, like clockwork, I got an opportunity to do something else that allowed me to grow. And so here I am with you now. I host a couple of podcasts for Black Enterprise. The best known one is Beyond the Hype. There's another show called Your Money, Your Life. I am the lead content person for a team that presents the Excel Summit for Men, which we just did our ninth one in Orlando, Florida.
Congratulations.
And we got to make sure you're there for the
Yes, we definitely got to talk about that.
You got to be at the Excel Summit for Men. But I'm kind of the content leader. There's a team of us, but I'm the main one that recruits speakers and helps to shape the agenda for the sessions, et cetera. And then of course, as a senior executive of Black Enterprise, I'm one of the 12 people in the company, 11 of us plus reporting to our CEO, that kind of leads the strategic direction of Black Enterprise, the company, which is celebrating its 55th
Congratulations.
year of elevating excellence, and that elevating term will come back around as we talk about the event we're doing in Toronto. But that's what we've been doing. The way we do it has changed over the years, from print to digital. We don't care what platform it is. Our mission is to elevate excellence, particularly among Black people in America and beyond.
I'm going to ask a favor from you. We need to do a part 2. Okay?
Oh, I'm with it. I'm with it.
Uh, uh, I know there's so much but not enough time, but just out of curiosity, do you remember your first day at Black Enterprise?
Oh, like clockwork, like yesterday.
Could you share about that?
It was March 4th, 1987. My 27th birthday was 4 days after that, right? So I turned 27.
Wow.
It was a day a big day in the life of every magazine, and our magazine as well. And if you watch one of my favorite movies, The Devil Wears Prada, you've seen this on the movie, is the day, we called it preview, when all the layouts of that issue of the magazine are there, and it's kind of your final chance to look at it. And this is everybody in the company, including our late publisher, the one and only Earl Graves Sr. And so this is my first day, and my first day is I'm in this most important meeting of the month. And it's for our most important issue of the year, where we published our list of the largest Black-owned companies in America. So biggest, it's like the Super Bowl for,
Yeah.
for our company as a magazine company. And it's my first day, and I'm in the room as one of the people that gets to kind of give their opinion. But I'm in the back. I'm in the newbie. I'm trying not to make any trouble. And the conversation comes up about, this is the annual report we've been doing for a number of years. I can't remember how many years that had been, since 1973. And the question became, our publisher was like, we should call this something. I know people know it's our BE 100 list, but this reporting is so in depth, we should call it something. And I raised my hand in the back and I said, why don't we call it an annual report on Black business? Corporations release annual reports. And Mr. Graves turns around and says, that's a great idea. Young man, and what that told me right then and there, and it's been true my whole career, great ideas are honored and respected at Black Enterprise. It doesn't matter whether it's your first day on the job, or it doesn't matter whether you're the junior most editor, as I was at the time, the youngest. I wasn't the youngest on staff, but I was one of the youngest at age 26. It was like the owner of the company did not care what my title was, did not care what my age was, did not care what my experience was. His assumption was that, and it played through all, and it's still part of our culture even today. If I work for him, I must know what I'm talking about. And you don't know what that does, but maybe you do, for your confidence level as a young professional.
Yeah.
When you know your age is not really going to be held against you. I mean, not that we don't have the same isms that every other company has,
Sure.
but I knew on that first day that what I became to accept as the motto, the unofficial motto of Black Enterprise, excellence, no excuses. That if I delivered excellence, now if it wasn't excellent, I was going to be held accountable.
Yep.
But if I delivered excellence, it was not going to be dismissed because of some artificial thing like, you haven't been here long enough. You only been here a few days. You're too young. You're not a senior editor. It was, no. If you have a great idea, that idea is going to be entertained. And for the many years after that, we haven't published that issue since COVID, so because we're still getting the data together to begin to put that list together. But it was called, the annual report on Black business. And to have made that kind of a contribution within, my first day on the job, it just set the tone for. Now you got to understand, Dr. Vibe, I was not a business journalist when I came to Black Enterprise. I didn't want to be a business journalist. That was I was newly married. I've been married multiple times, but I was a newlywed. And I promised my then wife I would not go more than 3 months without a job when I left my last job. And Black Enterprise was the best job on the table. And it was a great job. Black Enterprise is a great place to work. But my passion is fashion. And the magazine I was at before Black Enterprise was a men's fashion and lifestyle magazine called Modern Black Men. And my goal was, my goal was to become one of the first Black editors, if not the Black editor at GQ or Esquire. So when I came to Black Enterprise, I figured I'd do 2 to 4 years, do good work, add to my reputation as a rising editor and journalist, and then continue on my journey. That first day, and I would say that first week, planted the seed that, maybe this is the place God has for you. This is, because it indulged my fashion, because this is dress down Friday, where I'm dressed now. For us,
I know how you roll. I know how you roll.
And I was like, but I didn't have to become that to work at Black Enterprise. I've always been the overdressed one in my jobs, because there's a whole story we could tell about the way I feel about fashion and style. But I got to a place where I could be the best of who I already was and still grow. And 39 years later, again, lots of things have changed. Totally different environment. We went through rough times in the transition from print to digital. We went through rough times in the transition from the passing of our late founder. I actually am even more blessed to work for our current CEO, the oldest son of the late founder, Earl Butch
Yep.
Graves Jr.,
Yep.
because while his father, obviously the visionary that set the tone for our company's culture, the changes that we've had to navigate over the last 15 years, Butch has led that. And we already know a lot of magazine and media companies, and I'm not just talking about the black ones,
No,
did not live to tell the tale. And so I was
absolutely.
like, under his leadership, which in many ways was much tougher than it was for his father,
Yep.
we still are thriving. We're still doing amazing things. We're still navigating the challenges of life in 2025. Trying to figure out digital businesses that change daily. It feels like,
Yep.
and so again, I've had more fun, as challenging as it has been sometimes, than I could ever have imagined. When we say God gives you more than you can think or ask,
Hmm.
that's my career, because I
Love
figured
it.
2 years at Black Enterprise, maybe 3, keep it moving.
From 2 to 4 years to 39.
Ain't counting. Yeah,
And counting.
yeah, I'll begin my 40th year in this coming March. Will be the beginning of my 40th year at the company.
We gotta do a series because there's so many things, the digital landscape, content creation, there's so many myriad of things, but let's start our journey about what we were chatting about on the phone on Friday. Health is currency. When I say that to you, what does that mean? How does that resonate with you?
I mean, it's very, very personal for me. It's part of my professional life too. We do a series of events and content under Health is Wealth, the Black Enterprise Health. We've done Health is Wealth events in Atlanta, Georgia, and Nashville, Tennessee, as well as integrated with some of our larger events. We do Health is Wealth panel discussions. So it's now part of my professional life. It's part of my leisure life, if you will, because I'm a natural bodybuilder is my chosen competitive sport. I've earned pro cards in 2 natural federations after the age of 60. I'm 60.
Congratulations, brother.
But that's all rooted in a recognition early on in my life. I would say in my early 30s, around the time my son is born. I had 2 daughters. My first and only son was born, and when he was an infant, I went from never going to the doctor, and fortunately, I was blessed that I didn't have to, but it
Yeah,
wasn't good that I never did. I only went to doctors when I had to pass physicals to play high school sports,
right.
and now I'm a young father, and and I'm and I'm trying to save time, but I had an experience with my son while watching an episode of 2020 with Ted Koppel. That the and the episode was about basically why women outlive men. The chief reason, among many reasons why women outlive men, is that women and black women in particular, versus black men, have no ego tied to going to see the doctor because of their natural functions of their bodies, menstruation, etc.
Mhm.
By the time they're 12, they're like, yeah, I go to the doctor. Yeah. And so what happens is they are acculturated for healthy interaction with the healthcare system, so that no, even if we catch the same diseases, theirs is caught way earlier. There's way more options to deal with them, and they're more likely to come through it unscathed and live many years beyond it. Now, again, that's not the only factor. But men, and black men in particular, what are we taught? Men in general are taught walk it off,
Mhm.
play with the pain,
Mhm.
don't be a punk,
Mhm.
stand up. It's supposed to hurt, right? That's like a measure of our masculinity. And then you add on top of that, especially for black American men, what we now call the John Henry syndrome. Remember John, he died with a hammer in his hand.
Exactly.
I'm gonna outwork, I'm gonna outwork, and we get so focused on performance as men in general and black men. Anyway, I had a revelation, and the day after that, Dr. Vibe, I went and found a primary physician. In fact, I went to a young lady who was the personal finance editor on our staff at the time. Her name is Shelley. She know who she is if she heard me talking about her. who was an affirmed and an open hypochondriac. And I was like, I mean, she was like serious about it. She's like, "Yep, I don't care what y'all think." I was like, I need to find who her doctor is because her doctor must be a great doctor. Long story short, she gave me her doctor's name. That doctor is semi-retired now, but I'm still part of his practice. So but I came to the realization, my first health goal was I wanted to be healthy enough to play basketball in the driveway with my son when he was 16. That was literally how it started. And
Wow.
that started me. I'm going to start going to the doctor. I'm start thinking about what I eat. I've always liked weight training since high school. Again, I was a frustrated high school athlete, but I didn't tie it to health and longevity. So fast forward, that's how I ended up becoming a bodybuilder in my late 30s. That's how I became. Now I'm a champion of what we call both health span and lifespan. I would recommend to your audience to read a book called Outlive: The Science and Art of Longevity by Peter Attia, MD.
Mm-hmm.
But that put me on a whole journey of living longer. Now, here's the economic part. Remember, I told you I've been married multiple times. One of the things I realized, and it wasn't just because of the divorces, but even some of the early mistakes I made with my finances as a young professional, things I didn't know because I was raised in a working poor household, in a working class community, and my mother knew how to save money, but she couldn't teach me about investing or credit and these other things. And by the time I got that was the other blessing about being a Black enterprise. Now I'm in a world surrounded by financial advice and financial professionals. And one of the things I realize is I got to play catch up. And the only way to play catch up is to live healthier, longer, and more productively. And that's when my health journey took on an understanding of where we started. Health is currency.
Mm-hmm.
You leave money on the table when you die prematurely. You leave money on the table when you're alive, but you're too sick or you're not healthy enough to maximize all the gifts, resources, relationships, talents, opportunities that God puts in front of you. I mean, there's nothing like having something in front of you and you don't have the strength to reach it. You don't have the stamina. You talked about consistency, and what I know about your show.
Mm-hmm.
So consistency takes health. So that's when I began to formulate this idea. You're probably starting around 15 to 20 years ago about the direct correlation between health and wealth. Things like most millionaires don't become millionaires until about age 50.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly billionaires don't become billionaires until after age 50. Um, if you're investing, if your goal is to build wealth through investing, we know that's a time game. That's compound interest over time. It's not instant, it takes time. So I looked at every way that it takes to create wealth. If you're an entrepreneur, it takes time to build a sustainable, scalable company. So then I came up with this thing that no, health is not just wealth just because it rhymes. It truly is economically measurable that the longer you live, the longer the people in your family live, the healthier they are during the course of that life, the more money you make. And on the flip side, the less costly it is for you to live. And you talk about the challenges that we have in America with health insurance costs and,
Mm-hmm.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, so it's not just I live long. I got to find a way to finance that life because I don't want to outlive my resources. I don't want to outlive my money. And so, I again, when you said, "Hey, let's talk health as currency," I mean, you just hit my sweet spot because
Oh, thank
on
you.
a spiritual level,
Yep.
a man of faith, when you talk about all the ways that God, talks us about being good stewards of our resources in the Bible, that's not just money. Health is a resource
Yeah.
that if we are good stewards of it, we get more. I am stronger, healthier at 65 than I was at 35. I
Amazing.
mean, I mean, measurably, objectively, because when you turn 65, when you get there, you'll find out. I didn't know. Man, they run you through a battery of tests like you're the $65 million man. I mean, because that's a milestone. I had never been tested and prodded and scanned the way but the blessing is they're like my cardiologist, and I never had a cardiologist before this year. I finished my stress test when you run on the treadmill and they got the things attached to you and they're testing your heart rate and whatever, your VO2 max and all the other stuff. And so now he comes in after my test. I'm putting my, my jacket back on. He goes, "Are you Superman?" That's what you want to hear
Yes,
from your
from your
pulmonologist.
doctor especially.
That's what you want to hear. But I'm saying, so when we say health is wealth, and I tell people it's not, especially people who want to succeed in business. If you want to really succeed as an entrepreneur, if you really want to succeed as a wealth creator, if you really want to succeed as an investor, or if you just want to have a good, strong, long career, because not everybody's meant to be an entrepreneur,
Sure.
you have to make up your mind that you want to live as long as you can and be as strong as you can. Because it
Love
really
that.
you doesn't really matter how long you live if you're not strong. And as we learn from examples like the late Steve Jobs,
Yep.
no matter how much money you make, being a multi-billionaire doesn't mean anything when you don't have your health. So, but they all go together. It's not either or. And again, now at 65, my daily prayer is to make it to a robust 104, which would only mean me living 6 years longer than my grandfather, who
Wow.
had none of the advantages that I have, and only, you know, maybe 19 years longer than my father. But my father smoked for 50 of his first adult years. But both of them were active, physically active, cognitively healthy till the day they died. So even when they died, they were still functioning at maximum productivity for their age. So, but because I have that as my prayer and my goal, and this goes back to the financial part, I got a plan for not only 40 years of health and longevity, I got a plan for 40 years of some kind of productivity, because last I checked, you can't age out of paying your mortgage. You don't age out of buying food. You're still going to need to sustain the lifestyle that you want. So you can't separate the two. Health is wealth, but you need health to generate wealth. So that's a long way around. And
Man,
coincidentally,
I didn't. I say a part. I think there's about part 20. Like we're going in good
man,
and deep, but
I
no
could go
problem.
on and on.
No,
On the next episode of my show, which drops tomorrow on Beyond the Hype, which for your listeners, well, this is live, so it'll be tomorrow for them too. I'm interviewing Dr. Joe Coughlin, who is the head of the Age Lab at MIT.
okay.
They just dropped a fascinating study in partnership with John Hancock, which is a part of Manulife, which is again hosting our event on Thursday in Toronto. Um, that about longevity preparedness. They created a whole index around longevity preparedness, because if you are a baby boomer, if you're in your 60s or younger, retirement planning ain't going to get it anymore.
No, it isn't.
So
Nope.
their thing is, no, we have to refocus current and future generations on longevity preparedness. What's the last half of your life? And the last half of your life could be 40 to 50 years. Halftime is now 50. It used to be halftime was, or your 50 was the back stretch.
Yep.
Now halftime is 50, and systems have not been created yet in the United States. I don't know what it's like in Canada, for really how do you, beyond the retirement age, traditional retirement age, plan financially, plan for lifestyle, for life beyond 75 years old or 80 years old. And so again, I could talk forever about this.
No, no. This is
Because
why because
yeah,
I'd love to do a series because
yeah,
there's so much here.
yeah,
I think we'll probably only have time for one or two more conversations, and we want to talk about the event. But
yeah.
want to ask you, what are the hidden costs of poor health on careers, entrepreneurship, and wealth building that people underestimate?
Well, I'll give you three, and again, in those three categories. If you're building wealth by having a long career, let's say you want to be the next Ken Chenault and make it to the C-suite in corporate America. First of all, you're not even getting near that goal until your late 40s, right? Because it's the time it takes to make your way through corporate America. If you're a 50-year-old chairman of a multinational company, you're young. That means you got to be healthy enough. And then you're talking about a truly high stress job. Yes, you look at the salary and the stock options and the private jet and all of that, but that is a high pressure job, which means you have to have health and strength, cognitive health, mental health, to be able to run that gauntlet and be responsible for maybe tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people in that role. But it is a great way to build wealth. If you can get there, you make a lot of money. Well, I'm speaking for Black men, you can't get to that role and then drop dead of a heart attack as soon as you get there. Or you're mentally broken down and you can't perform and you can't get the promotion, or they won't even put you in that role. So again, if you're saying I'm going to build wealth because I'm going to have a great high level career as a corporate leader, takes time, takes health. Let's move to investing, as we talked about. The best, most consistent ways of building wealth, whether it's investing in real estate, stock market, or whatever, is time. Is value compounded over time. Well, the longer you live and the more productive you are, the more money you can make in the stock market. You know, but the entrepreneurs are the ones, and I mentor a lot of entrepreneurs. I'm one of the lead mentors for example, for Pharrell Williams Black Ambition Prize program. I've been doing that for 4 years. But even before that, I mentor a lot of entrepreneurs that I've met over the years at Black Enterprise. And I tell them, if you crash, it all crashes.
Mm-hmm.
If you fall down, everything falls down. If you fail, it all fails. So when you talk about the most successful entrepreneurs, another high pressure life, by the way, you got to be spiritually healthy. And and again, I'm a man of faith. I don't care what you believe in, but you better believe in something that's bigger and more than you. For those dark times when you know you can't make payroll, for those dark times when you know the loan ain't going to go through, for those dark times when you may have to declare bankruptcy. So you need a foundational spiritual health and spiritual life. You need cognitive health. And now that people are living longer, we are now dealing with dementia and Alzheimer's and those other things. Of course, physical, we talked about physical, emotional stability. All those things are going to be necessary if you're going to build what we call multi-generational wealth, not just being rich for a season of your life, but the kind of wealth that sustains you through your life and leaves something for future generations. Now, the costs are easy, and I can speak for myself. I don't spend any money on prescription drugs. I've only been hospitalized twice, appendectomy when I was 40, and I'm 16 years past my prostate cancer experience with no ill effects. I never got sick because they caught it so early, to my point earlier. And I had to recover from the surgery, but I didn't have to recover from the cancer because it never got a chance to damage my body. So I'm not spending money on hospitalization. I don't spend a lot of money, on prescription drugs. So when we talk about the cost of living, my cost of being healthy is lower than it traditionally is for a
Mm-hmm.
65-year-old. But my capacity to earn is escalating when most people are trying to plateau so I look at people like we just honored him with our Excel Award at this past Excel Summit for Men, George Fraser.
Oh,
Dr. George
oh,
Fraser.
wow, wow, wow. Why you drop that name on me?
What,
Why you drop that name on me?
well, he's a mentor to me. He's a
Oh,
role model
yes,
to me, and,
yes.
and he's a friend to me, and he's always pouring into me. But he is 80 years old,
He don't look it,
and he don't act it.
and he don't act it either.
I know 20-year-olds that can't keep up with
No,
George Fraser.
the
And
goat.
but from the economic standpoint, we talk about health as wealth or health as currency. George can't stop making money. He has what I at first said this about Kevin Hart. I said Kevin Hart got money making disease. Like he caught it about 15 years ago. Kevin Hart, he'd have to do something horrible to stop making money. That's about getting to a space, whether you get there when you're 20, 30, 40, 50, and George is there at 80, where he's being so productive. He's bringing so much value to the world.
Yes.
Everybody he touches, so money making disease isn't luck. It's not,
No.
it's you reaching your grace note, the flow in your life. And at 80, George is in such a flow. Everything he does aligns with everything else he does. And when you get into that space, and this is biblical as well as,
Mhm.
practical, it just comes to you. It comes to you because of the value you keep putting out. Because that's what I'm trying to get to, brother.
Yeah, I
Um,
hear you.
but I'm saying it all. When we go back to the health, he at 80 is just as productive, just as valued, generating just as much income. And when I started really having these realizations about the connection between health and wealth in my mid 40s, after reading Dennis Kimbro, another hero of mine,
You met
his
him
book,
too in my time, yes.
yeah, Dennis Kimbro's my man. He wrote The Wealth Choice, among his other great books. And I was in my mid-40s when I read that book, when I started making this real connection between health and wealth. And after reading that book and trying to decide what my life was going to look like after age 50,
Yep.
Dr. Vibe, I began trying to study everybody I could see who was still making really good money after 50 and what they had in common. And I'll just mention two people that I focused on: Oprah Winfrey
Yep.
and Jay Leno.
Interesting.
I'm going to focus on Jay Leno.
Okay.
But what they have in common is that, and this is one of my goals, I'm still working on, about 70% there. They make money only doing what they want to do. 100% of how they make a living, however you measure it, making a living, is them doing what they want to do, what they feel purpose to do, what they like to do.
Mhm.
And most of us, at least half of our income is us doing stuff that we have to do that we don't really want to do. And so one of my goals is like everybody I know who's really making big money after age 50, Warren Buffett, whatever, however they're doing it. These are three different: a comedian, a talk show host, and an investor, but they're all doing just what they want to do, making more money doing only what they want to do. So let's take Jay Leno, for example. Remember when he retired from hosting the Tonight Show, and all Jay was cool. He's like, my wife, because he loves and cares for his wife, his cat. He was like, I'm cool. And remember, he never got caught up in the fame.
No, he didn't.
He was like, this is what I do and I love doing it, but I'm not caught up.
Right.
Remember, after he retired, they gave him his show to play with cars.
Yes.
Cars.
Yes, I remember. Yes.
So they're like, Jay, what do you want to do? Well, I love cars. We will pay you to do what you want to do anyway, what you could afford to do without us, but we value you so much. We want to put you on the show. And he had that show, I don't know if it's still on, for 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And he's getting paid to do what he wants to do. And he's not getting paid or not having to do anything he doesn't want to do to get paid. And the reason why that's part of the whole, where some of the hidden costs of doing too much of what you have to do for money that's not aligned with your soul, that's not aligned with your purpose in God, that's not aligned with what brings you joy, is that it does take a toll on your mental health and
Absolutely.
your physical health.
Absolutely.
It takes a toll. It shortens your life. And of course, shortening your life means less time to be productive. So I was like, and of course, we see them as energetic and youthful. And, Oprah does look great.
Yes.
And, yeah, we know she has hair, she has makeup, but she looks great. And that's the other thing I found in common. I was like, even Warren Buffett, I mean, yeah, he's an old white dude, but he looks fine.
Talks fine, thinks fine, presents fine, for good of flow.
Yeah, so it's not about having the body of Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's about, are you cognitively there? Do you have healthy social relationships? And I'll try to wrap up the answer to your question when we talk about the hidden costs. The other significant difference between why women outlive men, and this factor is more important than whether you stop smoking, is more important than drinking, is more important than diet. Having healthy social relationships is
Foundational.
a 10-year difference in mortality between men and women. Once again, proven by the longevity preparedness study, but other studies, I think it was a study out of Harvard about 3 years ago, that said the biggest, most significant difference in longevity between men and women. And it doesn't mean men have to be married. It's not about married and single. It's about having friends,
Relationships,
and people you can laugh with.
Yeah.
People who, the latest issue of AARP newsletter, the cover story is about elderly solo people. People live like me, part-time.
Yep.
I mean, I have family, but I live in my house alone.
Yeah.
And all of the things you got to think about. And one of those things is you got to have an on-purpose social life.
Yep. You got to be doing something, because we all know people who retired and within 2 years, they're no longer with us.
They disappear. They literally disappear because they're isolated. Isolation is death. We're human beings. We were created for social connection. And so you got to, and again, because I'm so healthy, I've learned I got to stop taking these things for granted. You got to think about what happens if you do fall down a flight of steps and there's nobody in the house. there are sad stories of people who are not discovered for weeks. They're dead. They didn't have to die, but nobody even missed them until a week. When
Yeah.
we talk about the actor that just passed, is it Gene Wilder?
Yeah, I think so.
Found in his home, his
Yeah.
mental life, and
Yep.
just when you. So I'm saying these are all things, but when I look at who is able to be
Was it Gene
productive,
Hackman?
no, it's Gene Hackman. You're right. It's
Gene
absolutely Gene
Hackman.
Hackman.
Sorry about
It's
that.
absolutely Gene Hackman. Thank you for the correction.
No
But
problem.
but my point is, we have to recognize the value of health and wealth. But to your point, we also have to look at how costs will creep in and destroy the longevity and quality of our lives when we don't make health and we don't recognize it as a true currency. It's a currency measured by time. It's a currency measured by time. It's not just how long you live; it's how well you live. And so that really just dovetails into everything that I'm personally about, increasingly that society is about, because we are now having to address the fact that the fastest growing population all around the world are people over the age of 80.
Yep.
The
Living
fast
longer. Living longer.
living longer and longer numbers, larger numbers,
Mhm.
and so as a global community, which kind of dovetails into why we're doing the global now. We'll talk about that when you're ready. As a global community, these are challenges that we are facing. How do you build a culture that sustains quality of life for people who will routinely live, especially women, who will routinely live past the age of 90?
Before we transition to Thursday's event, I'll 3 quick things I'll just share with you. First things first, I go to my doctor every month, and it's not because I have any illnesses, but it's available and I don't have to pay for it.
Yes,
Second of all, I've had the same doctor for 30 years.
yes, yes.
On top of that, and how many black men can you say this? My dad and I have the same doctor, and
Wow.
he's had medical challenges, prostate cancer, thyroid. So my doctor's preventative. If there's anything that looks even remnant of anything my dad had, we're on it.
Wow, that's a huge blessing. I didn't find out until after I was diagnosed that both my father and my grandfather had it.
There we
But the
go.
blessing there is my son is aware,
There we
and
go.
my one grandchild is a boy. I
There
was
you
like, "Hey, you
go.
gotta make sure he knows." But to your point about, we can get into a difference between health insurance in Canada and health insurance in the US. That's another whole
That's
conversation.
a whole other conversation. Don't
But
worry.
I'm blessed. I have a standing weekly appointment with my therapist.
That's what.
Again,
Oh
not
boy, we
you
got.
said it, not because anything's wrong with me,
That's
but
it. Exactly.
it's about maintenance, it's about preventative. I said if we have scheduled maintenance for our cars,
Exactly.
and so sometimes we don't have it, we'll skip it. No, we're good, we're good. But when I know I got somebody, and he's been my therapist for 15 years. He knows when I have to deal with something,
Yep.
and we prevent. And again, whether we got navigated through COVID.
Hmm.
My most recent marriage ended as COVID was beginning. He navigated through that. My kids are all growing up, and of course, they have their challenges and issues.
A
That
lot on
affect
your
me as a
plate,
father.
sir.
He's
Lot on your
navigated
plate.
through that. He's navigated through changes in my career and my goals, and he's navigated me through financial crises. And again, it's not like he has all the answers. He doesn't even pretend to, but he's like, listen, you need to be thinking about this. You need to be thinking about your emotional response to that. You need to think about how this connects to your upbringing, how this connects to your parents. And like I said, we could go on and on. But the point is, I tell people we have to stop treating mental health like emergency medicine and wonder why we don't get better outcomes.
One other thing before we transition, and you mentioned it, and you're 70% there. You said, I want to encourage as many black men and those who love them to have a get to life, not a got to life.
Yes. Word, word,
A
word.
get to. Get to life, because when you get to do things, you come with good attitude, good energy, all those things. When we got to do something, a lot of times we really don't want to do it, and we may not bring our best energy.
Well, yeah, people always tell me how disciplined I am because I've been working out, and they're like, oh, you never miss a workout. I was like, I get to work out.
Ah,
Privilege. I thank God. And then when I'm finished, I thank God about having the strength to do it and the energy to do it and the stamina to do it and to say, yeah, I actually lifted more now than I did when I was, 20 or when I was 30, when I was 40. That that parable of the talents, that if you use what you got wisely, you get more, is true. It's true. And so you're right, man. My goal is to make sure 100% of my life is stuff I get to do, but you can't wait until you feel that
Oh,
way. You got to adopt that mindset now
mhm.
in what you're doing today, to count it all joy. Is the word.
There you go.
Is
The
to count it.
Walla says 30 years. Yeah, 30 years. Same doctor. It's 30
Yeah,
years. And
that's
he
incredible.
makes they make a good point too. He's watched me grow up.
Well, he knows your history. It's why you don't want to take your car to a strange mechanic. You're like,
Exactly.
no, I just want to get it to my dude who knows my
100%.
system and knows my history and knows my tendencies, and can make some intuitively give me good intuitive advice and treatment. So that's all very,
Fantastic.
very important.
Well, for the rest of our conversation, we're going to be talking about this. There's an event coming up called Elevate Everywhere in Toronto at Manulife headquarters coming up this Thursday. What is the background about this event?
Well, again, we're in our 55th year history as a magazine, as a media company, of elevating excellence for our audience. But of course, we know we're in an increasingly global, shrinking global. This is not new, global economy. And to give proper credit where credit is due, probably the strongest impetus in our company for moving to a more intentional effort to expand the Black Enterprise mission to a global audience is the person who reached out to you, Kristen Graves, who is our director of social media and marketing, but who's also the granddaughter of the founder. So
Yes.
again, we're talking about generational appreciation for the mission, but interpreting it for new times, new generation. And she's someone who's a very enthusiastic international traveler. I would call her, I don't know if she call herself that, but I would call her a citizen of the world. And she just made up her mind, pretty much during COVID, that this was something that was going to be important to her. And I'm skipping past a lot of steps,
Sure.
but
Sure.
eventually it was like she started BE Global, which is on Instagram, which was our effort to do a better job of covering Black business achievement all around the world. And at the same time, Manulife became an important partner for us around this idea of financial inclusion, particularly after
Mhm.
John Hancock became a part of their organization. So they've been a great partner with us. Again, they sponsor some episodes of my show, Beyond the Hype. And as you know, they're the host of this BE Global event. All these things came together, but it was a recognition of three important elements of business and financial success. One, you have to have a global mindset. That even if you operate locally, we learned, from everything from the supply chain problems that during COVID that kept small businesses from functioning because they couldn't get bottles that they needed package their products. That there's no such thing as a non-global business.
Mhm.
So the first mission of this event, in this series, because we are planning to do it in other international cities, Toronto is our first, is to get a global mindset, to emphasize a global mindset. The second part is about financial inclusion, the thing that brought Black Enterprise and Manulife together. That we have to make it possible for everybody, no matter where they're from or where they're starting from, to benefit from the prosperity of financial education and access to financial resources. So, global mindset, financial inclusion, and the third one, and that's why I led with talking about my colleague Kristen Graves, multi generational collaboration. We now live in a world, and Black Enterprise is an example, where as many as 5 generations of people have to be able to coalesce as a functional collaborative team in order to move forward. That now you have everybody from I don't even know what letter we're on anymore. Gen,
I surrender.
Gen double A, but I'm a baby boomer.
Yep.
Um, Now, when I came to Black Enterprise, there was no more than 2 generations. It was World War II generation and the baby boomer generation.
Mhm.
Baby
Mhm.
boomer, now we have 5, and it may get to 6 generations when we look at generational aging patterns around the world. And you have to be able to manage multi-generational cultural strengths and weaknesses to be a robust functional organization. It's something, again, we're dealing with as a company at Black Enterprise, but every organization, every company, every church is trying to figure out how do you serve the quote unquote elders of the church, but still make it appealing to young people who need to have a spiritual walk. Every organization is dealing with that. So, this Elevate Excellence, we have a session with our CEO who's going to be doing a fireside chat with the president and CEO of Manulife Wealth and Asset Management. I'm doing a conversation around financial inclusion with Sarah Chapman of Manulife, Chief Marketing Officer, and Damon Murchison, who's the President and CEO of IG Wealth Management. And then there's a session on multi-generational perspectives. How do you navigate that? But it's around those three themes that you're not going to be globally effective. You're not going to build global wealth. You're not going to have global success or global excellence, no matter where you are, if you don't adopt a global mindset, focus on financial inclusion, and be committed to multi-generational collaboration, because it's unavoidable. Everybody from every generation and every background, you have to be able to leverage all of that effectively in order to get prosperity and advancement for our society as a whole.
At this time of your journey, what is your definition of wealth?
Well, one we talked about, to get to a point where everything that I do is to make a life, not just make a living, is aligned with a core purpose. And that's not a number. That there are people who are living very wealthy lives who may make less than the proverbial six figures, and there are other people who are making way more money but not living productive, healthy lives. So, as a man of faith, I spend a lot of time saying, if I'm here to be a ministry, if you will, which is something I committed to in 1986, whole nother story I've told on social media before, then I ask myself, with every hour of my day, does that bring me closer to my purpose or further away from my purpose? And when you can know that every hour of your day, every relationship in your life, everything you do enhances everything else you do, then you are achieving wealth. The other way that you know you're achieving wealth is, what kind of legacy are you prepared to leave? Financial and beyond.
Mhm.
What are you leaving behind that's making your children better, that's making your community better, that's making your nation better, and ultimately making the world better? And that's a different answer for each of us. But when you're focused so much on survival and making a living that you're not thriving and making a life for yourself and others, the second category, thriving and making a life for yourself and others, is a measure of wealth. Because that means you have freedom, you have choices, you have options, you have the freedom to do good things, you have freedoms to serve others, to uplift others, and that's that whole idea, the misunderstanding that money is the root of all evil, but no, it's the love of money that's the root of all evil. It's about having the resources to do what our late founder said: doing good while doing well. That you have the
Got it.
resources to make a difference in the lives of others, both family members and strangers. You can build institutions. One of my dreams is, it's a literal dream I've had, where a young person stands up in church and says they have to leave school because they don't have money to pay for it,
Mm,
and 20 other people stand up and say, "Here's a check, keep going to school."
there you go.
Not just say, "I pray for you." I pray. Prayer is good. Prayer is great, but it's also nice to be able to say, "Yep, I'm praying for you, and by the way, you don't have to leave school because I have it to give." It doesn't have to be a major, and that's what we get when you have wealthy communities. The last thing is, wealthy communities are healthy communities. I mean, let's face it.
Yeah.
You less stress, longer life. That's wealth. Being able to walk out of your door like I can in my community, and and I'll wrap with this. I realized that I left my garage door open by mistake. It was open all night long. I was perfectly safe.
There you go.
Health and wealth is being able to be walk in your community and know I'm safe.
Before we let you go, some quick things. I got some quick lightning questions for you.
Cool.
First one belief about success you changed your mind about.
I used to think success was easy, that success made life easier. But now I say all the time, and my mentees have heard it a million times, success is a test that is easy to fail.
One health metric you track weekly.
Weekly. I say right now with sleep patterns. How well am I sleeping? Again, my cardiologist had me start taking magnesium pills. I take magnesium glycinate. It's a nutritional supplement along with other vitamins. He did it for heart health, but one of the good things it does, it makes you sleep
Yeah.
deeply and more restfully. And I just did a post to both Instagram and Threads and Facebook over the weekend about just the quality of my sleep just has skyrocketed in the last several months. So I pay attention to that on a weekly basis. I really, really do.
A book, podcast, or mentor that most shaped your health philosophy.
Hmm. I'll go with the book
Okay.
because it's the most recent one. And I'm going to give credit to Dr. Carlina Tuggle McDaniels, who's a surgeon in Atlanta, and her and her husband own a company called Pro Black Vitamins, Pro Black Health, and their mission is obviously health supplements, but changing healthcare outcomes in the Black community. But the book I mentioned earlier, Outlier: The Science and Art of Longevity, she's the one that urged me to read it. Her and Tanya Lewis Lee, Spike Lee's wife, who else we were at the same event in Atlanta. Both of them were like, "You got to read this book, Alfred. You got to read this book." And Tanya Lewis Lee, we don't know each other well, but we know each other long because we've always bonded over this health and wellness conversation. So after I read Outlive, I've been recommending that book to anybody who will listen. I'm like, you got to read Outlive.
A small daily habit with outsized impact.
This is going to sound weird because I'm a grandson of a Baptist minister. I was raised in the church, but I don't think I deeply appreciate it until post-COVID. For the first time in my life, I actually have a prayer corner with an actual prayer pillow. And on most mornings, there are times when I don't do it, but on most mornings, the first thing I do after I get up is I go over to that prayer corner and I get on my knees and I just, sometimes it's quiet, sometimes there's nothing, sometimes it's long, but that is one. And the second one, which is connected to my morning routine, is I try to get outside of my house, even if it's only to stand on the porch, to get into open air and look at the trees and look at nature and look and breathe in and get some sunlight. Those two things, which seem like very minor, they make all the difference for my day. All the difference.
And then our final conversation piece for future conversation pieces. What's one question, since we're talking about Black business people, what's one question Black business people should ask themselves about their health?
What do you want your life to look like after the age of 50? And what do you have to do now to get there?
Wonderful. All right, that is it, family. We're just putting it back up again. The event is coming up this Thursday, and very excited to be part of it. And looking, I'm not in as good shape as Mr. Edmond, so I may hide, but but you know what? We both have healthy minds and healthy hearts, and that's most important. Some other things here, information about Black Enterprise, if you want to get in contact with them. All this information is in the comment sections on whatever platform you're watching this live on the replay. So going through more stuff with Black Enterprise here. If you want to touch base with Mr. Edmond online, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, etc. If you want to get in touch with me, best way you can do that is taplink.cc/the Dr. Vibe Show. This has been a beautiful moment, and I'm looking forward to more of them. And brother, I'm already holding you to at least one more. I think there's more to come, but at least one more conversation. And I end off with this, that live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions, aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. love, faith, and respect. And don't just manage your time, manage your energy. And remember to give yourself grace. And if you're not making money, make history. Try to do both. And always, whenever you are, or wherever you are, make it better. God bless. Peace to well. Keep the faith and walk good. There we go.
Wow.
Yep.
I feel like I'm in class with Dr. Alicia. That's a class I wouldn't skip. There's some other ones I'd like to skip, but I'm glad I'm not skipping this class tonight. So I'm hoping you're catching this live, but if not, certainly catch it on the replay, because this is good stuff that Joe is laying down here. Get ready. When I saw this today, I said one word: "Aya!"
Did you really?
No. I felt like it's an incredible document that I'm going to suggest that you take and use as a lecture piece wherever you want to go.